I say something.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
Great.
I'm
I,
gonna put your output through my computer speakers. I busted out my new webcam that hopefully will show a little bit better.
Very fancy.
And yeah, right?
If it's anything like mine, it'll just go out of focus randomly while you talk. So it's
Yep.
a known bug with the one I'm using.
It can't be any worse than what I had last time. So,
Yeah, I'm digging the Santa in the corner with his nose against the wall.
hey, you remember the Blair Witch Project? This
Very
is the
much. That's
man.
exactly the thought that I had.
It's that terrible movie that we had that you watched with William Shatner.
Oh man. Yeah, what was that one? The Christmas horror story?
Yeah. Something trying to ruin childhood memories. That's all it was.
Yeah. I don't understand why there's so much of a Christmas horror mix, but it's out there.
It's because they run out of like legitimate material, so they've just got to revamp everything and ruin it. They're doing it with Winnie the Pooh. But
Oh, I saw that.
I digress. Shouldn't we have our intro or our kicker?
Yeah, so welcome back to the Brothers McLaughlin podcast, telling our stories for posterity.
Episode 2.
Episode 2.
Just
So,
just because we got to keep them somehow linked.
yeah, they all kind of they'll all fit together, in sort of a patchwork.
Yeah. You won't get them in chronological order, but you will get them.
So I should point out I've lost my voice. I don't normally sound quite like this.
Oh,
um,
I'm specifically trying to speak in a lower register because the last video I sounded like a little girl.
which reminds me, you never told me green light on uploading that thing, so it's still just floating.
Oh, well, we
should
should
should we
probably.
should we rebrand this as the first episode?
I know, we're definitely sticking with number 2. It's gonna get better as we do it more often.
All right. So, it's Thanksgiving time. Say, how was your Thanksgiving, Bob?
Christmas time. It's Christmas time.
It was
Thanksgiving is
Thanksgiving.
over. I am married to a Christmas baby. As soon as that turkey is off the table, it's Christmas time. But Thanksgiving was wonderful. We had a great Thanksgiving.
I say that's probably for the best. I've been trying to think of like family stories related to Thanksgiving, and I can't remember a thing connected to Thanksgiving. Like I don't think we ever did turkey bowls. I don't think we ever did anything like that. I remember the table being loaded down with food, and
Yeah,
like
but it was always random food.
it's not so random. It was always like a turkey, and there was like stuffing and potatoes.
The only turkey stuffing and potatoes that I remember was the one that Annabelle, our Great Dane, jumped up on the table and had her head in the turkey when we walked back into the room. That was the only one. Luckily, we had already eaten, but that's the only time that I remember having an actual turkey on our table.
The only turkey that stands out in my memory is when we went up to Unky Mark's, and like I guess they hadn't thawed the turkey yet or something, but they put it in, and it was like 4 hours after we were supposed to start eating that it finally came out, and it was like burnt on the outside and like red and
And
bloody on the
it was
inside.
still raw on the inside. That's
Yeah,
why we didn't have any Thanksgiving memories because we always went to Uncle Mark's.
that's true. Uncle Mark's was a fun place to go visit. I Part of me wants to recreate something similar to what he had.
I could see that. Like recreating that would be fun of getting the family together. I just remember it being awkward because none of our cousins were
Well, yeah,
fun.
weird cousins aside.
They were definitely weird. I was gonna say you brought up Thanksgiving and legitimately the only Thanksgiving memory I can think of, we probably shouldn't record because it was the time that we had Uncle Howard come and stay at our house.
I remember
And I'll
that
just
meal.
yeah. So we had mom made our Thanksgiving dinner. Mom got like an entire case of top ramen and boiled the noodles and then like pan fried them as like Asian
I remember
noodles
that. I like those.
and put it into the giant like popcorn mixing bowl, put that in the middle of the table. And I just remember watching. So Uncle Howard, the best way can describe him, is a very large man, very out of shape, large man, balding, and as he was eating was just like profusely sweating and like heavily breathing. It
Yeah,
was just it was
he
super
he
awkward.
was also regaling us with stories from previous Thanksgivings when he told us that he was eating dog treats
Yeah,
last year. So, oh, and Uncle Howard isn't our uncle, he's our great uncle. So
yeah.
he's dad's so Grandpa
Grandpa
McLaughlin's brother.
John. Oh,
Yeah.
hold on. So you guys say Grandpa John because posterity. So
There's only
John.
one Grandpa McLaughlin.
Well, yeah. In our
it's
what's
it's
do we know?
Grandpa Bert for everyone else. Like
Do we
that's
know what Grandpa John's middle name is? John.
oh, I feel like I saw it recently. I don't remember it off
John
the top of my head.
married to Sarah Ann. For those that are looking at the
Yeah.
family tree,
Two generations up from us.
yeah, Bert's father. So
Yeah.
yeah, it was his brother Howard
Yeah.
who was slightly crazy.
Howard was once found wandering in the desert naked, claiming to be a prophet. So, and
It happens.
when he moved
It
down to
happens in all
Manti,
families.
he would like every time he would meet with us, he would always tell us about how people were trying to kill him. So,
Yeah, with fallen bales of hay off their truck.
yep, truck driving by with a falling bale of hay and a car rolling backwards out of the driveway, out of a driveway he was passing where he jumped through the window and everyone was staring at him, which convinced him that they were like CIA operatives. So, yeah, Uncle Howard had some interesting stories.
It always made for a fun time.
But yeah, Thanksgiving aside from the food, I don't feel like I remember the foods that I remember. There were a couple of specific ones. We always had candied yams, which was basically just like a can of yams with brown sugar and marshmallows on top, which is still
Oh,
one of my favorite Thanksgiving foods.
it's
And oh, what was it? It was oyster dressing was the other one.
ooh, that's
Mom
right.
without fail would make oyster dressing every single year and everybody hated it.
She was the
So,
only one that liked it, and
well,
it was
I remember
the
Nathan and I
worst.
would eat it as well. Like you put a great bit of gravy on it and 2 days later you can't even tell the difference. But
Oh,
like
oh. I just remember like you would have like the aromas. Like thinking back on it, you would have the aromas of the Thanksgiving dinner, and
canned
then all of a
clams.
sudden, halfway through, you'd have the smell of smoked oysters permeate the house to the point where it would last for like weeks. It was so bad, just so bad.
So something I've gotten into more recently, but I don't ever remember as a kid, is cranberry sauce. Like I've really come around on cranberry sauce, like fresh cranberry sauce, but I don't ever remember that being a thing when we were younger.
No, mom did
Or
like
for
the
that matter,
cans.
green salad.
That green salad didn't happen. Although I do remember like I really liked the green bean salad. That was always good.
Oh, green! I can't handle green beans. They're so bad.
I love green beans.
Not as bad
But
as
we
Chris has it, but I can't. Oh, green
it,
beans aren't my thing.
I digress there. How was your Thanksgiving, Spud? Did you go to Mike's?
Yeah. So we were going down to South Carolina, to go to Mike's in-laws, lake house, and it got rained out. So we rerouted to their mansion in North Carolina, where everyone got sick, and there was all sorts of family drama on their side, which was refreshing for me to not have it be on our side. um, but we got like super sick. We slept most of Friday and then drove home with like massive fevers. So like I don't we made it home safe, but like I swear I was hallucinating half of the time on that drive. I keep
Oh
waking
my
up in the middle of
gosh.
the night like with these like nightmares of driving off the side of the road. So It
bad.
was good though. One of the best turkeys I've ever had. So Mike like brined a turkey from Kentucky to North Carolina, and then like roasted it, and it
That's
was
that's not a
amazing.
time. That's not a time. That's a distance, not a time.
Yeah, no, it's
That's why
hours. It's hours
McLaughlins
and
make
hours and
bad
hours.
cooks. Make terrible cooks because we can't actually stick to a recipe.
Speak for yourself. I'm great at cooking. I'm bad at baking.
That that's because it desires a recipe.
Yeah. Hannah gets so mad because I refuse to follow recipes. I'm like, oh, like they could use a little shake of that. It could use some of this. And anything I cook on the stovetop, she's down with it, where it comes out fine. But like anything I bake never works out.
No, it's a little bit harder to ad hoc it.
Yeah.
I did the turkey this year. So I'm a true fan of the spatchcock method. I don't know if you've heard of
Oh,
this.
I've heard of it. I've never tried it.
So it is the easiest way to cook a turkey, and it's essentially cutting out the spine and then recreating dad giving CPR to a rooster. And you
Live, live, live.
smash it flat, and then you bake it on top of like celery and carrots and onions, and it bakes in like an hour and a half, and it's super juicy and delicious. So
So I wanted to do that last year, but Hannah talked me out of it. So I did the thing where like you peel the skin back and you stuff it with like butter instead. So I was really proud of how the turkey came out. But yeah, never got to try the what I consider sort of the aliens approach to
yeah,
cooking a turkey because it comes out looking like a face hugger. So
yep. Looks like it'll jump up on you. See, I just doubled down. I put the butter under the skin and I spatchcocked it.
there you go. Oh man. Yeah. Have you ever tried deep frying a turkey before?
I served in St. Louis, Missouri. I had deep fried turkey, and I can tell you right now, it's the best. Like I've had good turkey. I've even made good turkey, but it still hasn't beat out the deep fried turkey that I've had from
Mm,
my mission.
that's one I still want to try, but I don't have a house to burn down yet. So,
That's true. That's true. There are ways around burning down the house, and so should when you do look it up to try to do it, make sure that you do it the right way without
oh
burning down the
yeah,
house.
I'm definitely not gonna do the fill up an entire pot of oil and then throw a turkey into a full pot of boiling oil.
It's usually the frozen turkey, too much oil, or the fact that they have the flame on when they're dipping the turkey in. Because you're supposed to
Stuff
get it up
seems
to temperature.
flammable.
Yeah, you get it up to temperature, cut the flame, and then dip the turkey in, and then it'll not catch your house on fire.
Oh man. Yeah, so someday I'll have a house that I can test that out at.
Then you can have your own holiday tradition of calling the fire department on Thanksgiving Day.
We just got him on speed dial. It's once a
Wait,
year, but they
it's
know us.
once. Hi, Spud. Yeah, it was the turkey again.
Yeah. Oh man.
And holidays were always weird at our house growing up. I know that's what we
So
were planning on kind of talking about, but
I have mostly positive memories about our weird holidays.
it's good. Stick with the
that
repression. I think it's
that
better.
it's not repression. So let me describe for you the first Christmas I remember. Because frankly I don't remember any Christmases before I was like 7 or 8. So the first one I remember was actually, I guess that's not true. I remember one year where there was nothing set up and we all went to bed on Christmas Eve. And mom and dad stayed up all night and they like put up a Christmas tree and they wrapped a bunch of gifts for us. And all those gifts were food, but they wrapped a bunch
Yeah,
of gifts for us to open so that when
just
we
cans of
woke up
food, but
on Christmas morning, like our house had transformed into Christmas, which that one stands out as a very exciting thing that as I've gotten older I've sworn that I would never do myself. But I'm a little bit more on board with with the traditions we did pick up, which was, um, I guess it was probably a similar situation, but mom and dad didn't want to stay up all night, so they laid out a bunch of gifts on like the couches and everything, and they put a bunch of things on the floor and all sorts of stuff. But instead of wrapping everything, they took the big bay door into from the kitchen into the dining room and they covered it in wrapping paper and they taped it all up so that when we all got up in the morning, we got to the kitchen and we see like that the room is wrapped up instead of
Yeah, instead of presents, the room was just walled off with wrapping paper.
and
I
that one
think
that
wasn't
one
there
was
a
fun.
sign on it though? There was a
Hmm?
sign that like it was like under threat of death that we could couldn't go through the wall of wrapping paper.
So I don't remember that. I just remember that we would all like that became the standard was that there would be this wrapping paper over the door and we would all get up and just sort of mill around the kitchen and like no one cooked or ate breakfast. We all just sort of waited for mom and dad to get up.
Wandered
We're
till
just
they
like
woke up. I only remember them doing it twice. Did they do it more than that?
So I remember one time where Nathan and I used Chris as a battering ram to knock down the wall.
I must
Um,
have been on my mission.
yeah, I think you were on your mission. That one. So we had Dad had cut a second hole into the living room at that point, so there were two holes to cover by then. So one of them got the full wrapping paper treatment, and the other one had like this like 8.5 by 11 square of wrapping paper taped and hanging in the center of the doorway.
Where mom had run out of wrapping
Yeah, where
paper.
it was like, well, that's how we're gonna finish this one.
Yeah, so I remember that one from earlier on when we were all kids, just sitting in the that kitchen waiting for mom and dad to wake up. And then I remember going into the dining room. So how it was set up is we had the kitchen, and connected to the kitchen was the dining room, and then connected to the dining room was the living room. And I remember both big bay openings being wrapped. So we got into the dining room and there still wasn't anything there. And then we opened up the living room and then they had put like nuts all over the floor with like a path in between them. There was a couple of
There were like
like
toys and candy bars laid out on the floor. I
there
remember
was
that.
I think there were only like four stuffed animal like little
It-
chicken
yeah,
stuffed
Chicken
animals.
Littles. It was.
Yeah.
I don't know where. Well, probably dollar stores where we kept getting them,
Oh
but
yeah.
I kept one as like a toy for the longest time, and
Well,
it had gotten lost, and then
you
uh,
aced it because it how it was set up is dad made us go across the living room to go pick our gifts, right? So nothing was labeled. And so whatever you touched is what you kept. And so like if you got across the floor and grabbed, I think there were five
there,
rifles
there
up
were
on the
five. There were five rifles. There were
yep. So
um,
5.22 rifles that were on the couch.
three. It was three Rugers, three Ruger 1022s basically, and then two. I don't probably Savage survival rifle things that would
Yeah. I
like
still
load into
have
their
mine.
stock. Yeah, so
Yep.
you and Chris got those. Nathan and I got the two wooden stocked Ruger 1022s, and then Mike got the cool like folding stock with a 25x scope and a 25 round magazine or whatever it was, like little black and silver number.
It ended up at Nathan's house
Yeah.
anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Nathan claimed it as his and swore up and down that that's what he got for Christmas because Mike went first and chose something else.
Well, it was funny because I remember you were fairly young at that point, but you saw so in the living room right next to the doorway were the four or the five little chicken littles, and you nabbed all of those. Your first 5 rounds that you got to go out and find stuff, you took all the toys. So you had a monopoly on the actual toys.
Well, and the main thing I remember was there would always be like sardines and smoked oysters And the only time in my life I ever had Lunchables was
Yeah.
Christmas mornings because those would always be there. Would be like a stack of Lunchables.
Or Vienna sausages.
Oh yeah,
Those
Vienna
were
sausages were a
always.
really popular one. So we'd always eat breakfast basically from cans of things that we had
Yeah.
opened on Christmas Day. Or, once in a while it would be like boxes of cereal that had been wrapped up. But honestly, that's what convinced me that like it doesn't really matter what you unwrap. The fun part is unwrapping something. So,
I didn't even care about unwrapping stuff. I just wanted like something to hoard.
yeah,
That's all I wanted.
something that could be
You,
mine.
yeah, you get yours, and you kind of just like, this is mine, and I'm gonna keep it. Nobody else is gonna touch it.
That's true. There was certainly a hoarding mentality in the family, which really came to light when I went and lived with Mike for a summer, and his food bill tripled. Not just because I was eating from their house as well, but because Mike suddenly felt like there was competition all the time for food. And so both of like I would eat a bunch and then Mike would like amp up what he was eating as well because he's like Spud's going to eat all of this and so he'd be making 2 or 3 times as much food as normal.
We definitely have a shortage mentality in our lives. It's definitely a real thing. I don't know. I was always the one that like this is skipping holidays, but like Halloween, I would always end up with my bag of candy that I would squander away and hide in a closet somewhere and then forget. And like 3.5 months later, when all the candy had gone bad, I come across it.
I just always remember for Halloween trading out candy for other types of candy and always being disappointed. If I got all chocolate, then I was like, I wish I had some regular candy. Or if I traded all my chocolate away, I'm like, man, if only I had chocolate. Like I was just always upset with the trades that I made. So eventually I gave up and I just stopped trading candy altogether.
Well, you were the youngest. You always got screwed. I have a theory
That's
about
true.
that. You can tell the youngest in a family because they're the ones that like Tootsie Rolls or Laffy Taffies or Airheads, because those are the crappy candies that you always gave the youngest sibling and
Yeah.
traded for the good ones like Butterfingers.
Oh man. Yeah, that was. Then again, I also remember that for Halloween, when at least when I was younger, when we were in California, you guys would always like throw me into like a shopping cart so we could go farther because I would always get tired.
I definitely was sitting next to you in the shopping cart. I was back in the bad heart valve days.
Good point. I just remember having the coolest cowboy boots, which were awesome until I had walked like a block and a half and I
Yeah,
felt blisters forming on my feet.
they were also like 2.5 sizes too big for you.
So cool.
Uh,
Oh man. Speaking of
yeah,
out of place clothing, looking back at my pictures, I did find that this coat that I have really fond memories of is this gray coat with like a fur collar on it. Yeah, that was a woman's coat. it had like
100%.
it had like shoulder pads on it and like did like the busy businesswoman shape thing. But I thought it was the coolest coat in the world and was only disappointed when it got washed and got dried and the collar like shrunk on it.
When did you have this coat?
That would have been in Bountiful. So at some point, like fifth grade, probably fourth or fifth grade is my guess from the picture.
Stole one of mom's coats.
No, I got it from DI. I chose that coat,
I chose.
and
I
nobody told
picked
me
it.
otherwise.
It's because it wasn't 2022 back then. Boys could wear girls' clothes and it wouldn't matter.
Yeah,
Now you do
back
that.
back then, everyone knew I was just poor. They didn't think I was trying to make a statement.
That is true. That is true. Oh man. Trying to think what other crazy things happened
Well,
for
so
holidays.
they're gonna say there was the one. So, like, I feel like we went through like stages of Christmas trees at the very least, because I remember the one year like Dad bought a Christmas tree from DI, and he got it home and realized that it didn't have like the center post in it.
No,
So
no, no. But hold on, because because it was even worse than that because we got it and it did have the center post the first year. So we set it up the first year and it had a center post. It's a scraggly looking tree. And this was after the years of getting like Clem's trees. Because remember,
I
Kenny at
I thought that
Clem's.
Clem's trees replaced all of our fake trees. That it was like 3 or 4 years of like bad fake trees, and then we finally got like the shoddy, like half
Like, if,
like it's like shorn off side Clem's trees that were $1 a foot.
either way, the fake tree, I don't know if it came from DI or hand me down from somebody, but year one, it was a full tree. So we set it up, and I remember setting it up, and like you could tell where we had like lost our drive to set up the tree because with all those fake trees, you would like pull them out and they were all squished together, and you'd spread out
Yeah,
all the
you'd have to
leaves and
peel
all the
everything
branches.
out and make it 3 dimensional
And
again.
so you had like one section of the tree that looked like a tree, and then as it started to expand from that, it would get a little more
You
wispy, a
start
little more.
getting these flat levels of fronds.
And it was just horrible looking. But I do remember that second year opening the box, and we're going to decorate the tree, and the center post was gone, just gone.
Totally missing.
I'm assuming that it turned into some sort of lightsaber duel in the backyard between
Possibly.
Mike and Chris Johansson.
That must have
But it
been
was,
before we had all of the what was it, all the ski sticks that we used for lightsaber tools later
yeah,
on.
yeah. So that that second year, I remember. I don't know if it was. I don't know if it was that year that we did the 2x4. I think that was the year we did the two
So
by
the
four.
year that it was missing for sure. So Dad had been
What?
building a bench underneath the bay window in the dining room for like extra seating. And he went in and he just got, it was I think it was like a 1x2 or something. But
It was a 1x2.
he walked in, he's got like these 3 inch long wood screws, and he just drills it into the side of the bench that he's been building. So there's just this post sticking up. And then he just freehands with the drill bit, with like a 1/2 inch bit, and he's just drilling these holes into this 1x2 or this board. And then he starts hanging the fronds out of them.
Yeah, start poking them in just at random. I mean, and like his credit, like the first year it did fine. The problem was is we put in all the fronds and it wasn't the same size post and it wasn't the same levels. So all of the ones that we didn't use ended up getting either put away somewhere else or thrown away.
Probably in
So
a
then
separate Christmas box because we had like
exactly.
massive Christmas boxes.
No, they were cardboard boxes stuffed with Christmas crap.
Yeah, a Christmas box. You don't have one of those now?
No, my wife will not let that happen. I
Oh,
have Christmas boxes now. They are organized and they have decorations in them.
I'll need to record one of these in my living room. You need to see what Hannah's done. So there are we have a whole we have a huge container of ornaments, but no tree. So Hannah hung strings from the ceiling, and now there's ornaments just all over the ceiling. It looks really cool. The only
But
problem is that's where the vents are, and one of them's just against the vent, so you just hear whack 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 whack.
it's probably a better setup for what you have with your child at this point.
Yeah, it's super nice not having him being able to reach anything.
But Dad and his wooden post tree, I remember because he unscrewed it from the bench. We took out all the fronds and put them back in the box. And then, like the next year, we only had those fronds. We couldn't find any of the others, and we still didn't have a center post. And I think we did a 2x4 instead of like a 1x2
So
and
it's
put it
not
in the
halfway as
corner.
well hidden.
Yeah, put it in the corner, and we had half as many fronds as we needed. So it was a very sparse looking, terrible tree.
You say, and it,
I
it
don't
never got better. I remember,
know. It
I think while you were on your mission, Chris went nuts with like making fancy looking gifts. And one of them he turned into like a bat and spray painted black and then put that on top of the tree as like the little star or angel or whatever. And I just remember at one point all of us like, bowing towards it for photos.
yeah. So I was hoping because it was on my mission. I do remember getting it, and it looked like you guys were lunging at the tree, not bowing to
we
the
weren't
tree.
we weren't
So
very good at pictures.
yeah, it was before the digital camera age. It was a one shot, one
Oh,
try.
oh no, that was
All you
definitely
had.
with a digital camera. We just weren't good at it.
Ah, that's bad. Just trying to give you guys an out.
No, there's no reason to.
Oh man, just
No.
really bad.
But it was fun and memorable, I'd say.
There was definitely memorable moments from childhood and holidays. And to your point, right, with mom and dad staying up all night and like setting up Christmas that night, even though they did wrap cans, right? Like we got like cans of soup or like I don't know, Vienna sausages. They did give it their effort of trying to actually make it so we had a Christmas. It was always interesting to me though, because like since marriage, Christmas has lasted a lot longer than our childhood Christmases ever did. Where,
That's true. For us, Christmas was over by 9 a.m. at the latest.
yeah,
Like it
and that
was,
was,
everyone was up. We would open gifts at like 7 or 7:30 in the morning, and by 8 or 8:30, we had all kind of wandered off again.
yeah, I was gonna say eating our fill of Vienna sausages and kind of moved on with life.
Well, I had an excuse. I was always looking forward to my birthday.
Sure, where half of your Christmas presents were waiting for you.
It was only a problem when mom decided to hold the ones that were obviously the same as everyone else's. So it's like, oh, like those are all socks. Like everyone
Yeah,
else opened a bag of socks. That's what I'm waiting for tomorrow on.
yeah. I've got my socks coming tomorrow. That's one thing that I still look forward to is new socks. That's what we always got on Christmas, and I will like that's the thing that I will still hoard. Like I will have an unopened package of socks in my closet for an entire year, and then when it's time to get a new one, I'll open my old socks from the last year.
Brand new socks.
Yeah, like
That's a nice
ooh,
one.
brand new socks,
Yeah,
brand new socks.
I don't feel like we've really picked up any like new traditions since I got married. I haven't really picked up anything specific. I mostly just go to my in-laws where they have like a big fancy meal on Christmas and they have other sporadic Christmas events. But I mean, for our family, I feel like the closest we get is like we sometimes have a party at mom's house. So
We have a holiday event these days. No,
or
it. I don't know that the McLaughlins have tradition that we ever had the stability in our lives to ever get to the point of having a tradition. Oh,
that was weird.
my
Did you just
tree
have a
was my
brownout?
tree wasn't supposed to. Yeah, my tree wasn't supposed to go out, so I'm sure that a fuse just popped again.
So something just happened.
That'll be fun to figure out. This is gonna be great.
Well, it looks like the lights are flickering, so I don't know if they're supposed to.
Those ones I think are supposed to flicker. They're not flickering on this end. It's just the camera.
Oh, got it. The camera's struggling.
Yep, that's pretty much it.
Oh man, I don't know. I still really enjoy the holidays. I especially like Christmas still. But it's more in
Yep.
spite of the way that we treated it and not because of how we treated it.
It's true. It's true. Not that there was a ton of great memories as children, but because of what we've turned it into at this point, I remember we played football a couple of times. Like Mike would do like a turkey bowl with his friends, and I remember getting tackled by
The only
so
the only one of those that I remember was Mike went out with his buddies and one of them like snapped his Achilles tendon, and he was so big that like he didn't fit in the truck, so they put him in the back of Mike's little Ranger S10 thing, and like he sat back there, and like they had taken him to the hospital. They drugged him up and like got him casted up, and then they just threw him in the back of the truck, and so he's doped up as they're driving back to come for like Thanksgiving dinner, and he's like smiling and waving at people as they pass, and
thinking he's Santa Claus on Thanksgiving Day.
yep.
Yeah. I feel like we tried different traditions numerous times that just never stuck.
Yeah, but it is what it is. We made it this far.
We did make it this far. The key is that the traditions that we're forming now for our children are very different than what we grew up with.
Absolutely. Though, I'm not gonna lie, I still want to keep the wrapping boxes of cereal and stuff alive. Part of me wants that to be the gifts that John opens under the Christmas tree. Hannah's super against it.
uh, Non-McLaughlins just don't get it.
there, there's something pure about opening up your breakfast on Christmas Day.
Yep. I got Raisin Bran. Booyah. Hope somebody gets milk.
Hope somebody got some milk. Otherwise, it's going to be a dry breakfast.
Uh, that was the best.
Give me some of that Vienna sausage water. That'll help moisten
Oh,
us up.
no. No.
Oh, man. All right. Well, I was gonna say we're pretty much out of time, so
There you go.
it's been fun reminiscing about Christmas. We'll be a little more focused in what stories we record next time.
Yep.
But yeah,
More structure for next week, but this was the holiday special.
yeah, sort of getting back into the swing of things, and hopefully next week I'll have my voice back. So
There you go. There you
All right.
go.
So my plan is to release each of these on Mondays, maybe on Tuesdays if possible, from the prior week. So tomorrow I'll release last time's, and then next Tuesday I'll release this one. So
Okay.
it'll be near Christmas.
Are you going to leave the goofy background that you created?
What are you talking about? I like that background. I put work into that. I stole those images from somewhere online and then
I would
doctored
say
them.
how much work did you put into it?
I'd say I gave
Is
it a
that
good half hour.
that'll change
It's
my level
the
of snarkiness in this?
I would just like to point out. I would just like to point out that the alternative is just the Zoom thing. And the Zoom thing looks worse than the boards with our names underneath.
Does it though?
Oh,
Does
it
it?
does. It looks way worse. I'm gonna put little ornaments hanging on it this time because it's a Christmas one.
Living the dream, my friend.
Gonna put a
Living the
turkey
dream.
face over your side. All right, I'm gonna stop the recording then.
That's a deal. All right, Spudley.